Welcome back to yet another episode on the M113 conversion on my Capri. I'm losing count now, I don't know what episode we're on. We're on episode we're above 10 because I just uploaded number 11 I think. So we're probably on 13, 14 now, I don't know. Either way, we plan on making more progress like every other episode. So, initially I think we need to get the steering shaft modified, just because it can be easier now. It doesn't really matter to be honest, but the engine's not in it at the minute, it's here. So we can get the steering shaft done, we can clutch. Probably the last job I'm actually not looking forward to is going to be converting the clutch to hydraulic using this. So what I've got here, a complete guess, is I've got a master cylinder from a SLK 320, which is the same car the gearbox come from. Now there's two reasons I've done this. No, there's not, there's one. I don't know. There's a reason I've done this, and that's because the displacement from this master cylinder needs to match the displacement required on the concentric slave cylinder to push the clutch in. I could have used other master cylinders. If it wasn't enough displacement, the clutch wouldn't have fully disengaged. If it was too much, we risked blowing out the seals unless we could stop it. So in the end I thought it's just easier to buy the one that definitely works. The only issue I don't know is how much stroke would usually happen, so we're going to go for sort of full stroke and just hope it works. Now this one's got two mounting points, which should be easy. It's got a M12x1 brake fitting on the back, so that matches the brake fitting on the master cylinder, and it uses, I can use standard 3/16 copper hose, so that's good and easy. The only unknown is currently the feed into this at the top. We're not sure how. It's meant to have something to just push in, pipe, maybe with an olive on it, which just holds itself, and obviously gravity feeds in there. However, I'm not sure yet how we're going to do that. We're going to have to try and make a pipe and see if it leaks. If it does leak, we're going to have to make a new solution, but we'll get around it. So either way, let's get this steering shaft done and then move on to the dreaded job of getting this clutch sorted. So the steering shaft, fun enough, is too short now that we've dropped the cross member there. So we need to extend it by about 20mm. Let's pop them off a second. So we've got our two ends here, cleaned up a bit with a grinder, nice. And we've got this tube. So this tube I think is like a 19.2mm tube with a 2mm wall. I wanted to obviously get the thickest wall as possible, so something decent to weld to, and it's going to be strong. Obviously solid shaft, probably better, but realistically this is under very little stress, and it would only come under heavy stress if you were to ram it into a curb or have a big accident, in which case if you ram it into a curb or have a big accident, losing your steering is quite likely anyway. So yeah, I don't think I'm too concerned about that, to be honest. But yeah, 90.2mm tube, 2mm walls, which leaves us about a 15.2-ish mil internal diameter, and these here about 15mm, somewhere around that. So perfect. So obviously I don't quite need this long. That was just cheaper to buy it that way. I think all we really need is about a 20mm overlap, because it's only going to be a weld that holds it each end, and a 20mm gap in the middle. So about 60mm of this tube, we'll overlap it and we'll weld it up. There we go, tube slid on up to our mark. So I measured 20mm in each shaft, 60mm tube, which means we have a 20mm gap in the middle. Lined these back up as they were per factory, so the UJs and the rubbers match. So yeah, I guess whack the welder and I, and give it some weld. There she is. Welded on, very hot. So, should fit in here perfect, ideally. Let's try. And sweet success. One more job ticked off the list. Obviously needs to be painted up yet, but bolts in absolutely perfect. So that's good news. I want it a clutch. Guess what's the best thing now? Engine back in? No, I guess I best roll it off a ramp now and start getting this clutch pedal out. I have no idea how to do this yet. So to get access to our pedal box now, we're going to have to remove what would normally be the servo and the master cylinder. In my case it's just a master cylinder, so you have to remove that. Inside the car we're going to need to remove all of this trim as well to get access to the steering column, because I think the box goes up over the steering column and to try and work out what space we've got to fit the new master. So I'm just going to start removing things here a minute and work out what it's going to take to get access to this. Don't want to do it, but at the same time I know it's going to reveal a load of wiring now which I need to tidy up, and it's probably a good thing, but when I want the car to go together it is frustrating taking it further apart. Oh well, these things happen. So, how far have we got? The master cylinder unbolted. Turns out below my little fuse box here, 2 more bolts need to come out for the pedal box. Inside there's a steering column, which to actually be fair is easy to take out. Electrical connectors off, 2 bolts, and then your UJ. Well, mine was already undone anyway. Inside, well, yeah, we got an inside of a Capri. It's now going to make me sort out the wire underneath here, isn't it? It's a bit of a mess. So taking off the dash panel and obviously your trim around here. That's revealed. In here then, obviously if you haven't already done it, throttle cable off, clutch cable, mine was already removed, brakes now disconnected, brake switch disconnected. So we've now got in here 2 nuts up here and 2 bolts in the bay, and I guess that's probably all what holds us on. So let's buzz them off a minute and see what happens. What size are these things in here? That's that one off. And turns out I've got an awful lot of cables in the way, which does not help. So. And they're not captive. Let's let gravity do the work. There we go, that's that off. What about from the engine bay side? If I can get through all the years of paint and filler. Let's give it a go. Oh. Oh. One-handed is not the right way to do this. Yeah, it's all good. I'm just making a meal out of it. There we go. What's that? Oh, look at all that beautiful sealer and filler and everything good. Glove dug on there too. So the pedal box still has not fallen down. Oh, there's a ramp there. What else is holding it on? Oh no, we are loose. We're just surrounded by cables. Oh, where's the clutch pedal staying there? Right, I'm just going to remove it a minute with 2 hands. We've got the pedal box out. Rather simple little setup. We need to be looking at mounting our clutch master up here, but I'm going to quickly pop it back in the car first so we can work out how much pedal movement we got, because I didn't pay attention to that, so we need to know how much maximum amount of travel we got up the top here. So let's pop it back in a minute and to see what our travels are. So up here it's almost back in its place. You can see we haven't got much, well, we have got some room above to work with, to be honest. Our biggest issue is going to be this ducting we've got coming up down here to here for our windscreen. Pedal travel wise, that there is around about the maximum, so I was going to get a marker pen and mark it on here, or a scribe or something to scratch it on there, just so we know the maximum we can push the pedal in. That should be enough though. Ideal. So where I've clamped off these mole grips here, that's basically our maximum pedal travel, pretty much. So we haven't got much space above this. We do have a bit when it comes up here, but not a huge amount, and we ideally still need to fit the duct through here and the other duct up past here. So been doing a bit of thinking. I reckon we bolt onto the side of here, so I think we're going to have to put a bolt through here into the pin and then try and make this so it's as straight as possible. It's going to be a hard one. And try and mount this up here, maybe off some bolts and some tubes, come out here. Through that lot to there. So I'm going to do a bit of guesstimate in a minute, a bit of drilling, and try and work out what on earth we can do here. Right, so a bit of bodging later, we mocked up this. Now this is higher, more of an angle than I thought it was going to be, but the stroke on the piston is very smooth and goes the pretty much the complete way. So, I'm going to try it in the car and see if there is space for that. If there isn't space for that, I'm sure that goes up into behind the dashboard, so we can probably make space. So, sorry I didn't record much last night, it got a bit late and I was just cracking on with it. So this is what we got here now. We got the master cylinder mounted to the pedal box like that on these tubes. That now has a fairly nice consistent even stroke when you push it in, and it basically, that's where the pedal stops. So that should be pretty much perfect. If it's too much, I'll just put on a pedal stop. So with the pedal box sort of mocked back up in the car again, what we've got back here, if you can see it or not, got the master cylinder up there, pedal, nicely actuates it to be honest, which is good. So that's spot on. We have got a gap above it between that and a bit of space at the back here for the high pressure fitting. Now I need to try and make a pipe that comes out the top of this and it's going to go across to, I need to tidy up this wiring as well, I don't know, and sort this out in here. This pipe here, which is going to be our clutch feed. Now I've had a few troubles with this because of how high the master cylinder sits on the pedal box. Obviously the fluid reservoir needs to be higher, which is pretty difficult. So unfortunately I think this thing here I might be able to get a way of doing this to bleed it and then bolting it down here out of the way, but if not it's going to have to sit up here above the level of the master. So we'll find out. What I'll probably do is end up bleeding it like that, and I'll mount it, try and mount it down low and make sure it still works. I might just have to unbolt each time to bleed it in order to get it a bit higher. I'm not sure yet. But that's going to be there. So I've drilled out one of the old servo holes, put a grommet in it, put that through that. So that's spot on now. So we know it's going to fit. I also want to make a pedal stop to go probably from the back of the pedal here to the firewall, so I'll probably end up putting like a bolt and a rubber stop through there onto the back of this so it can't go much further than that, just to be safe for now, make it adjustable. Yeah, so we need to get a clutch feed pipe in there, and we need to finish welding up all these fittings for the master cylinder on the box, and then we can start making up actual clutch pipes. So this is what I come up with in the end. See, master mounted onto the pedal box. Went for 8mm copper line because I had it lying around, and fittings because we haven't got much space above the master. So I need a tight space. It needs to be a rigid hose to go into here, and it can't be allowed to fall out. So the 8mm was a nice tight fit in that rubber. Put a bit of rubber grease on it as well, obviously, to be safe. Comes along, kicks it down to this level, soldered onto a bit of copper plate, screwed it down the pedal box, and then this tail here is what will connect to the flexi pipe I've got in the car, which comes through from the reservoir. So, some people might call that rough. If it works, I think it's genius. It's simple, it's tidy, and it should be really reliable. That's the idea, and it'll make removing and putting the pedal box in easier. So now that's done, we are going to need to make the copper line for the back here. I could do copper or Capri nickel, whatever it's called, but I've got both. We'll see. So that's going to have to rerun in now. I'm going to get that pedal box back in, which is going to be a pain, but once it's back in I'll be happy. So we'll get all that back in, and then we're going to look at how we're going to run this line. I reckon we'll probably run the line down around behind the carpet on one of these sides, and ideally it's going to need to jump over and out down the tunnel the other side. So it's going to end up having to go down and out the tunnel for this side. So I might run it back over the tunnel, down along the side, and then we can grommet and punch it through the tunnel here. That's probably going to be best. Keep it out of the way, keep it tidy. In which case, I will crack on with that now. I'm probably not going to record that because it's a pain in the ass, and I want to get some of this back together. So, and try and sort out some of this at the same time. Yay! Alright, let's do it. That's the line run for the car, and a little grommet goes through the thing there. Obviously I still got to do various alterations to the top of the tunnel here for all shifter setup, but that's a part. So what's next on the list now? Obviously we've got to fit the actual gearbox and all it back in, but that's the engine, the clutch, the flywheel, the whole lot needs to go in for that. So prior to that, I probably want to get some of this wiring done. So I might crack on for a minute, just suss out some of the car side of the wiring a minute, and then we will go from there. I probably won't pull this wiring out of here yet. We'll just add in the looms for the ECU we need to, and then when it comes part of paint, this wiring's all been altered again anyway. So I think anyway, that's the plan currently. So let's crack on with that. I didn't record a lot of this yesterday, obviously, because there's already 2 whole videos on wiring as it is. But I put a multi-plug on my fans, wired them back. That's for the ground for the fans and the radiator temperature switch. Little loom comes through and goes obviously onto the multi-plug. Now it goes to my ECU. All done. So the ECU is fully on. Well, it will be. I need to put some multi-plugs in on the live in the ground yet. Although I don't really need to, because every time I take the engine out, I'll have to undo these cables anyway and undo the other cables. So it's not the end of the world. Although it would be nice to have one more multi-plug just so I can pull the ECU board out. But we'll see. Keep forgetting to order it. So that's that done. Then I jumped into the car as well, didn't I, last night. Started removing stuff we didn't need. Started sorting through this massive mess of cables in here and such. But now we've got our multi-plug, which goes to our body loom. So that does our alternator exciter, our clutch switch, our fuel pump, our fuel level, ignition live, starter switch, all that kind of stuff goes to there. Yeah, I still got to sort out this wiring, existing stuff here, work out what's what again. But I've got to put these 2 new ones in here, so that's for the alternator exciter and the starter switch. I've got to go in. Yeah, so we'll tidy all that up yet. And I do need to alter the fuel pump, because I'm not sure actually if I can get in the boot at the minute. It's a bit of a mess. Keep just chucking random stuff in the back here. Oh, like an 8-pack of Pepsi. I didn't even know I had that. Oh well, I've got that. So here we've got our main battery. We've then got our auxiliary battery for dashboard, which I won't be worrying about yet. Split charge relay. And then down there is our fuel pump relay, which I think at the minute is wired for a switch 12 volt. We need to be a switched ground. So I need to alter that, and then the fuel pump should work properly. And tie in the ignition stuff. So I'm going to get that finished off there a minute. And then that's the wiring. Short of being loom taped in the car once working and loom taped on the actual engine, that's then the wiring done. And obviously connect the main power and grounds to the body, but to the engine, sorry. So we're making progress. Let's crack on. That's now the wiring tied up, I think, I hope. So that's all ready to go in there. Obviously still needs tidying more, but it's there and functional. So before I can bleed the clutch, the engine and gearbox will go back on, the clutch, fly, all that stuff. So that's probably going to be in the next video, to be honest, to make logical sense, rather than keep chopping and changing between videos. So there's one more thing I do want to do before the engine can go in the bay, and that is the fuel system. So here I've got my existing, I think that's my return, and that's my high pressure feed from the pump. This is the old regulator, which we'll be reusing, at least for now anyway. So we've got an inlet at the top here, fuel in there, and the return at the bottom. Now we've got to try fitting this Y piece as well, and that Y piece then also needs to connect to this one here. I'm not sure how to make it pretty yet, because it's a really nice flexy hose, but it's kind of right in the way everywhere. So I reckon what I'll do is we'll get this one here mounted again in a moment. We'll get the return set up put in and the Y piece, and then we'll leave it so that we have the final bit of hose connection to do once the engine's in place. Go with that. Oh, this bay is doing my head in now. Look at the mess it is. But if you've come this far and gone, oh, it's messy, I know it is. The reason the brake lines are still in and I've bent them out of the way constantly is because I want to test drive this, obviously, before I then rip it apart to make it pretty. Hence why I've left them in place. They will be getting ripped out and all be done nice. But until then, I'm just got to deal with it. So I'm not this rough, and it's not going to be left this rough. It will be pretty by the time this series finishes. But fuel system wise, fuel pressure regulator is back where it used to be where I had it with a Cosworth. Our returns at the bottom. Our feed comes in to this Y down the bottom here, and then into the feed inside of the pressure regulator. Then I've got this tail here to join onto the engine. So you can't do that until the engine's sat in place. I still want to do that differently there, but I don't know how yet. So we'll put it in and see how it fits. I'm now just tying up some of the pipe work. It's more accessible with the engine not in place. So we're going to get the radiator hoses, the heater matrix hose around, P-clip in place a minute, finish off the expansion tank, do the top radiator hoses there, put the bottom hoses on because the brackets are in the way, so they're a pain. I'm going to get all that tied up, and then we'll end up at the end of this video. So let's just tie this up a minute. That's the rad pipes on, the expansion bottle. Changed out brass tee I had, a 16mm one for an 18mm plastic one, much better fit on the pipes. The brass one was a bit loose and this pipe was a bit bigger than 16, so it's a good fit. P-clipped them in nicely. The expansion one's on here. Just screwed the throttle cable back in, obviously that needs to be shortened. Yeah, can't really do a matrix ones until the engine's in, fuel system's in. I think that's as far as we can get now until the engine's back in. So in this one episode, I think we've lengthened the steering column, or sorry, the UJ shaft bit down to the steering rack. We've stripped out all the steering column, the pedal box, converted it to the hydraulic, which we think is successful, but obviously it's not been tested yet. Done that conversion, finished off the wiring, made the fan looms, made the body plug and the looms bits that need to go in the car, so that's all done now as well. So now we are ready to put the engine back in because we can't make any more progress. So that's going to be the next episode. The next episode is going to be drop the engine back in, put the gearbox back in, connect up the hydraulic clutch, bleed it, install the flywheel, the clutch, rig up the last of the cooling system pipes, fill the cooling system, rig up the last of the fuel system, sort out the idle control valve, blank off anything else on the engine, fit the radiator fans, and then we'll be ready to turn the key in the car. So that's next episode. I'm looking forward to that. For me, it's, well, just want to stop recording this video and start the next one in a minute. So that's hopefully going to be today for me. But yeah, I'm happy with progress so far. There's still a shed load to do, but if next episode is successful, off that's going to leave us pretty much the prop shaft, which is currently in the hands of Northwest prop shafts getting made. The prop shaft, and then it'll move. Hopefully. That's the idea. And then it's all coming apart again because we've got to weld up the bay, we've got to paint it all, we've got to make it all look pretty because I can't take it for a test when it looks like that. It's just too embarrassing. I'm a bit of a tart, and no. Because if everything around the engine looks rough, the conversion looks rough. And I know it's not the best conversion in the world, but I like to think it's not completely rough. So we've got to take it in there being presentable. But that's future episodes. So this build's going to be going on for a little while longer yet, overall. The goal is it needs to be on the road. It needs to be on the road in July, really. That's the plan. And June's pretty much a write-off. And now we're coming into May. Yeah, May the 1st today. I don't give much time. If June's a write-off, we're coming into May. This needs to be mostly done in May to get it on the road in July. Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Oh, well, we'll keep going. We'll get it done. I'm sure we will. So, yeah, if you happen to have been enjoying the building this so far, then if you haven't already looked back at previous videos, there is probably another 14 or something episodes prior to this where we first started with removing the Cosworth engine. There's videos previously on the twin turbo Cosworth I built. There's obviously the Range Rover Turbo Technics, the L322 Range Rovers, the Golf 20 valve turbo quick build, just all sorts. So yeah, feel free to have a look back. I appreciate you watching. Thank you very much for all the support. It really means a lot. And yeah, like the video, drop me a comment what you think, subscribe for plenty more, and with any luck, I'll see you again next time. I've been Jordan. Cheers.